We are now on the air. We are now live, the way this thing's telling me. So, welcome everybody to the Collector's Catacomb, our weekly Thursday evening rendezvous where we do show and tell. We talk about everything that we have in our collections and anyone else who joins us. We have special guests. We have all kinds of stuff going on here. And as you notice, we're missing our host. He's busy tonight, and so about 10 minutes ago, I got the keys to the kingdom of Tinker's Row relics, and now I'm the new host of the show. Now I'm just filling in for Erik right now as we can get this thing going. Everybody's canceling their shows this week. All these shows that I'm normally watching, they're all canceled. So we weren't going to cancel this one. We're going to stick with it, right, guys?
Okay.
We got piles of stuff we can show. We can keep things going here. So I'm seeing people in the
We
chat.
can?
We go on. Yeah, we go all night. I'm sure you got a bunch of stuff going on. So, and Drew, you've got that really loud whining sound in your audio again. Your fan or something in your computer is going really loud, but that's okay. So I guess let's introduce our
Is that better? Is that better?
No, I still hear it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Really?
Sounds like a jet.
Hold on, let me see. Let me hold on.
Okay. So while Drew's trying to turn off the jet engines in his house.
How about now?
Hey, that's a little better. It's actually. Let me stop talking. It is better. It was better actually. I think the sensitivity on your mic or something's picking up that fan. But anyhow, so let's get started here. We've got, Erik, I don't think I've ever said your last name.
Last name is Kaishlin.
Kaishlin. Okay, Erik Kaishlin. Go ahead, Erik. Introduce yourself and let's get going here.
All right. My name is Erik Kaishlin. I'm a militaria collector, collecting items from, I guess, Spanish-American War up to Vietnam War. I have a Facebook page, the Militaria Collectors of Delaware Valley, for all those collectors out there living in New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and we'll occasionally let New Yorkers in. And then I also am a admin over at, or moderator at, the Allied Militaria Forum, which is the forum that the other Erik runs. And that's pretty much it.
Cool. And you notice, yeah, he's got some cool things hanging on the wall back there, guys, so you can kind of see. One of these days, we're going to have to do a little tour of your armory that's hanging on the wall there, because that's what I'm interested in, that kind of stuff. So we'll have to do a weapons night or something with what you got going on there, because that would be really cool. Okay, and we have the ever-present Mr. Drew. How you doing?
Good. What's up tonight? I'm Drew, the California Picker. I have a YouTube channel called California Pickin'. And I specialize in fine art, antiques, and antiquities. So if you guys have any questions about that, shoot your questions my way.
Cool. Thanks, Drew. And by the way, I'm Dan. Dan at More Old Stuff is my YouTube channel. I'm on Erik's channel right now. I'm on the Tinker's Row Relics channel doing the hosting here tonight. So my lower third, I just kind of threw in my name in there and stuff. But I'll be over in the chat on my account, so I'll be chatting with you over there. I do YouTube videos and picking and hauling and collectible stuff, most of my stuff. I've got a Facebook group called More Old Stuff, and my website's moreoldstuff.com. But let's get the show on the road. You guys want to? Any of you guys want to go first? Who wants to go first? I'll let one of you two go. Drew, you ready to go first?
Yeah, because I'm Drew, the CaliforniaPicker.com.
Hey.
Hey.
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Let's go.
Come on, let's go.
Come on,
Sorry,
let's
we're
go.
making references to our favorite YouTube guy, Jeff Williams. He's like a gold treasure hunter guy, and I think it's Ask Jeff Williams. That's his channel name, or AskJeffWilliams.com or something like that's his website. He is really funny, man. And this guy, his famous thing is, "Come on, let's go." He dresses in Western leathers, and he goes out gold mining. He tells you how he finds gold. he pans. His newest video, he was at a convention in Vegas, and
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go to Vegas pretty soon, and I'm going to look him up because I know what store he hangs out in, and I'm going to try to hunt him down. I just love to meet him because it's so funny to. It'd be great to meet this guy. But anyhow, yeah, let's go.
Absolutely.
Come on, Drew. Let's go.
Okay, so yeah, today I have, let's see, just a couple items to show you. Let's see, where do I want to start? I found this real nice. It's Cinnabar, Chinese Cinnabar lacquer. Let's see, am I getting a? Ah, what's wrong with my camera tonight? It's all frosted. How do I change that?
Just hold it there for. Oh, you know what? You got your effects turned on.
Yeah, how do I turn those off?
Okay, so you go over on the sidebar. It is the
Last one, yellow, a little
yeah, the
magic
yellow
wand.
one.
I
You
got
just
that.
set it to original, I think, or something like that.
And then where do I change it over here?
Um,
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not showing up very well, is it? Why isn't that not? Ah. Well, anyways, it's a carved lacquer box, and these are very collectible. And there's a lot of great detail in here. Unfortunately, I can't show you. This was another Chinese Cinnabar lacquer box that I had showed you guys on another occasion. So I just picked this one up. Real nice. God, I'm sorry. What is going on? How do I change that, you guys?
so you go into effects.
Yeah.
I'm looking at mine and I don't see the little. And if you hit the.
Down
Mine usually,
below.
there you go. You did something. You got it. It's clear right now. Whatever you
Oh,
did.
good.
Yeah, you got
Good.
it.
Good, good. That was totally accidental. Well, anyway, you can see the detail on this. It's really exceptional. Right in here, you're probably not going to pick that up, but there's tiny little, like a design, and it's all hand carved out of this thing. It's got a brass body, and it's carved all the way around. And this one's got a blue base. Usually you see them with a black or also a red base. But usually these are hard to find undamaged. First of all, they're hard to find, period. But to find one that's completely undamaged is really quite rare. And it's an older one. I'm not saying it's extremely old, but you know, it could be from the 60s, 50s, or 60s, possibly, you know, around that era. And that does really well. Then, completely out of context, or there's no rhyme or reason to this little display, but this was a canvas that I picked up not too long ago, and I did a video of it. It's a piece of Russian avant-garde modernism with kind of cubist overtones, and it's just got a great feel to it. It's got some really cool lines coming down here from the sky, kind of segmenting things up. And that's how the Cubist kind of worked, by taking, you know, real life landscapes and people's faces and portraits and still lives and chopping them up and making more like Cubist lines. So this is a little bit of a blend of that. And it's got some cool writing on the back. And this says down here, I think this is Leningrad, 1990. I was hoping it was older than this, but this is how it came, so a real nice purchase for me. It's pretty cool. And then moving on, this was, I think, the find of the day or the week. I did get this today. Let me plug this in. Hold on a second. This was cool. You guys ever come across any beer signs?
Oh yeah. I like
Beer
that.
signs are really very collectible. Where is this thing? Hold on. Discombobulated tonight, guys. Wasn't ready for the collector's catacomb. Didn't know we were going to be on. There we go.
Oh, that's
This
cool.
is a very rare beer sign. In fact, I urge you guys to go online and see if you can find one of these. I checked on eBay, and I could not even see any one of these signs being sold. And that's pretty amazing. You think about all around the world, there's not one of these on eBay and hasn't been in the completed listings. Let me see if I can darken this area a little bit so you can see. It's got a red glow coming up from the bottom. And let's see, a little better, but it's very cool. Ale and a beer sign. And then I like the back of it. You can either, I think this was a promotional kind of item because on the bottom it says the property of Valentine Imports or whatever down here.
Yeah,
And so
they
this
would put
wasn't
that.
for sale.
Yeah, that sits on top of a cash register. See how the
Yeah.
front comes down, or the top of probably mostly the cash register in a bar. That's like they made I've not seen that kind. I've had other signs that were beer signs, but it had that same kind of attachment on it. So they would sit them
hmm
on top of the. So yeah, that's cool.
And then the back is cool. It's got the option of putting it on that little ledge as you just
Uh,
described,
yeah.
and or it's got this great tripod that folds back. It's a great sign, and it's just I'm so jazzed to have it. It's got all the old buttons and things back here, and the old wiring, and it still works, and there's no buzz and no smell. So far, it's just a great small beer sign, and I'm thinking this is not that we talk about price, but this might be worth a couple hundred to $300. You just don't know. I've never seen one, and you can't find one, so the sky's the limit on something like this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's it. Three things.
Well, you're supposed to take up
Uh,
a whole half hour because we got.
yeah, I
we
know.
got
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Uh,
So,
that's the first time I've been short-winded.
but we're
That's
also
not.
missing, and also, guys, we're missing Sean. Sean couldn't make it either, and he's our
Yeah.
sergeant of arms and our chat host, and kind of keeps the show rolling and is our interface to the chat room there. And I'm trying to do that too, so I'm watching over here at the same time. So, okay, Erik, what do you have? Oh, you're muted, I think, or something. Can't hear you. I lost you. Now your mute button is on. Oh, now it's off, but can't hear you. Now your mute button's on.
Erik,
Yeah, he's having audio problems.
it's not plugged in, Erik.
Yeah, we'll let him work on that for a few seconds, and hey,
Yeah. So
I'll show you something that I got that I didn't show on our Star Wars show last week, and I had so much stuff, and I was like, this was one of the coolest things, and I was like, well, I don't know why I just didn't grab it because I had so much going on at the time. But so uh, I remember I was telling everybody that there was a guy at a booth that was selling his collection, and and he purchased his collection, or most of his collection, from Gary Kurtz, who was the producer of Star Wars. Actually, I think all three of the movies, but primarily the producer of Empire Strikes Back. So he had a lot of Empire Strikes Back stuff. But one of the things that he had was this patch. Well, I'm going here. I'm going to show you. So this patch, which was only created for the crew members and the cast members and crew while they were filming, because there were really not much artwork and stuff out at the time for the movie. So this was a quick thing they put together. this was given to all the crew members and the cast members that worked on the movie for the Empire Strikes Back movie. And give me a second here. I got this from him, and I got also this T-shirt, which was an original T-shirt from the part of the collection he had. He had boxes of these. Now this was a new shirt. It wasn't worn by someone. It wasn't worn by anyone. You know, it was brand new. It was probably extra stuff that they had. But this was a T-shirt that they gave all the crew members during the filming of The Empire Strikes Back. Unfortunately, all he had was larges, and in the 1980s, T-shirts weren't sized like they are now. This is a large, but it is very small because I can't wear it, unfortunately. He didn't have any extra larges. This was all that this was the biggest shirt that he had, was a large for the time. So I guess this is more like Mark Hamill's size during the time of the filming of the movie. It wasn't quite made for me. They didn't make it for Jabba the Hutt, I guess, right? So that was that. But let me show you something. Just quite have it ready.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yep, got you
Okay.
now.
All right.
So let me just show you one more thing regarding the patches, especially because this was kind of cool. I was actually just kind of browsing the internet, and I found I found this picture. I was looking at some pictures. So this was during the filming of
Oh
Empire
wow.
Strikes Back. I don't know if you see it very good. See the jackets he's wearing, and see the patch on the front of his jacket? It's this exact patch.
Can we see the back of that, if you don't mind, Dan? So let's see what the construction. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a sew on. It's felt and it's embroidered. They're
Okay.
embroidered.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it's an embroidered because you can see the threads go all the way through. Hang on a second, hold it better.
Okay. Yeah. A
So yeah,
cheesecloth
I
as
found
well.
this picture which I thought was cool because it's during the filming, you know. Then remember that most of it was in the cold weather because it was the ice scenes, you know, and so they have this. But there's the patch that's on the front of his jacket right there. Is this exact same logo? Oops, this exact same logo and patch that was on there. And I found some other pictures of the light jackets and things like that that had the patch. I haven't found one of the T-shirt, and I'm looking for pictures of somebody wearing this T-shirt during the filming, and I'm sure I can come up with something for it. But that's kind of cool. So that's part of my personal collection of
So
goodies.
I missed it, obviously, the first part. So you found both of these items together from the same
Yes,
seller?
yeah, the
Okay.
same guy. I bought these both from the same guy. Actually, it was a set. He sold them to me as a set,
Okay. Wow.
and they were used. They used these primarily for the crew and cast members during the filming of The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
So this logo wasn't used anywhere else, like future references to the movie. It was only this logo, like this, was only for the crew members and while
Wow.
they were filming, cast and crew as they were filming. So
So
this guy had boxes of these things.
it's a little bit of a kind of gives a hint to what happens at the end of Return of the Jedi there
Yeah,
with the flames around Vader.
yeah, that's funny. That's true. I never thought about that. It kind of put the whole story in the image there.
There you
That's
go.
funny. Yeah. So anyhow, you ready?
Yeah,
Let you
absolutely. Okay.
let
All
you
right, I was
run
just
now.
kind of like in between before I figured out what was going on with my stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. Um, so I thought I'd start off by sharing kind of an interesting little piece. I picked this up at a antique shop, and it doesn't look like anything much. It looks like a little bomb, which is pretty much what exactly it is. And anybody looking at it, you might think it's some type of kid's toy, but it does have some weight to it. It's made of metal. It's got some nice pointy edge. So I don't know if anybody knows what this is, but it's was used during Vietnam, and everybody knows about napalm, and it's used during Vietnam, and how much havoc that it wreaked. But this was another little development that the U.S. military used during Vietnam, and it's called a lazy dog bomb. And the originals, they're actually based off of a design that was used during World War II, and then in the 50s they kind of redesigned it, and basically the premise behind it is get a bunch of these, go up into a helicopter or some type of aircraft, and you drop them, and they reach a you know pretty high terminal, or they reach a pretty high speed, which is actually equivalent to the force of a 50 caliber bullet,
Wow.
and it does some pretty nasty stuff when it hits its intended target. So it's just another piece of, or another use of warfare, and really nothing, really simple design. I mean, you're talking just a tail fin. I'll just kind of show you what it looks like. Just a little tail fin at the end there, and then you have the bomb itself, the projectile itself.
Now, was
And
that loaded with an explosive, or is that
nah,
just they're just thinking that's just gonna bore its way into
right,
somebody's
right
head?
through. Yeah, like I said, I think in testing, and let me just pull up my notes. It said it could penetrate 24 inches of packed sand. So just equate
Wow.
that to a human target, which is,
Yeah.
obviously what its intention was, and it could cause some pretty nasty damage. And then just Vietnam, or this was developed or this design was developed in the 50s, probably around like 52, but obviously we didn't utilize it until Vietnam, and it made sense during then, because a lot of times the Vietnam, or the Vietnamese, or the North Vietnamese were dug in pretty heavily, and you couldn't see your target. So you drop
Oh,
these, and it can go through canopies, or
yeah.
whatever they might be using for cover, and and apparently the aftermath, going in and seeing what the kill, what the kills looked like afterwards, and it was, pretty gruesome,
Wow.
apparent,
How,
according to
how
the.
many do you think they would like release in one
I mean, I'm thinking I think it was in like the thousands. I mean,
thousands
they're
of
so
thousands?
small, you could just,
Yeah.
you figure a crate of them, you can
Yeah.
fill that up pretty easily and have, 400 or 500 in one crate. So if you're just opening up, a helicopter, or
Yeah.
an aircraft, and you're just dumping them, crates
Yeah.
and crates of them, you're getting into the thousands and thousands that you're dumping at one time. So
Wow.
pretty ingenious. I mean, it's a simple design, especially Vietnam. Vietnam, we were, even World War II, obviously, we were pretty well advanced in, the, the weaponry that we were using, and Vietnam even more so. But sometimes simple is, the best way to go. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
so there you go.
That's interesting. I've never
Yeah.
seen one of those before. I've had I've found, let's see, I've had a small, it's a bomb about this big. It's like steel, solid steel, but it was more of a target. I think it was like a target.
Like inert, or
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't hollow, it was solid, and it was for practice. It was like a practice thing, so they could find it right when it hit the ground, it would still be intact or whatever. That was
gotcha.
practice.
Okay. Just
I
to
remember.
see how, I guess, the flight path that it took, type
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. I found
Okay.
like two
Yeah.
of them in a junk shop for, I think I paid $2 a piece for them, and when I
Okay.
found out what they
No,
were,
that's nice. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
pretty
these
cool.
sell, again, not to talk price, they sell for like, anywhere from $10 on eBay. You can
Oh,
find them
really?
on eBay. Yeah. I picked this up for a couple dollars at an antique shop, so it's pretty.
What
I
are
saw it
they?
sitting there. Yeah.
What are they called specifically? What are they?
Lazy. I guess let's see what the proper. They're called a lazy dog bomb,
Huh.
but I don't know what the proper military term is.
Oh, yeah. There's probably some special
Yeah, like
contract name,
model
but
something.
the
You know.
the soldiers called it, yeah, lazy dog bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's based off of the company that designed it
Oh,
too.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So that's where it kind of got its name from.
Yeah. Turtle Trader says it's kind of like a penny being dropped off the Empire State Building.
Well, that's been proven false. MythBusters proved that's not true. But
Oh,
no,
really?
definitely, yeah, definitely the same, same premise there.
Yeah.
But
So it's,
obviously a penny, the shape of a penny isn't designed to, penetrate, a human
oh,
body.
yeah,
Whereas
it's
this,
turning and flipping, and so it's
yeah,
not. But something like that that's aerodynamically designed to just go
exactly,
and accelerate as it falls, it's
exactly,
going to be way
yeah,
more deadly than a penny is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So. Uh, so there you go. If you're out there and you see one, now you'll know what it is.
Ah, cool.
I only learned about it. I seem to do that a lot. I'll learn about something, maybe a month or a couple months before, and then suddenly I'm out and I see it, and I'm like, oh
Oh yeah.
wow, I read about this, and it's happened to me on more than one occasions. I don't know
I'm
if
sup-
it's this I'm not
I'm, sup-
looking for it and I find it, or if I just have that much luck. I don't know.
I'm really
So
surprised I haven't seen one of those. I've never seen one before, and maybe I have and just thought it was a toy or something,
I,
and didn't
yeah,
think about it.
it's really, you pass by. I mean, and even if you look at it from a distance, it's kind of got like a a plastic look to it, so you might just think it's a little toy projectile or
Yeah,
something. But
and it looks like it's off of a military
yeah, a
toy.
little transformer or something. It's just a little boo.
Yeah,
So,
that's
um,
funny.
so that's I wanted to kind of keep a Vietnam theme here. So, I thought I'd talk about this metal grouping that I picked up. I picked this up a couple years ago. Excuse me. And so I post an ad on Craigslist, military wanted, and I get all types of people contacting me. Sometimes it's just real common items, things that aren't interest, that don't interest me, and then sometimes it's really amazing items, and this is probably one of those really amazing items that I never thought someone would contact me about. Um, so this is and actually I have it framed, but I do have photos of them out of the frame. This actually hangs in my, my display room. So we're getting a little glare from, there we go. So this is when I was contacted by the seller, they said they had a Purple Heart and other medals named, from World War II. So, once I got the medals, I started, or once I saw the pictures of the medals, I'm looking at them and I'm like, the engraving on it isn't consistent with World War II engraving. And for anybody who doesn't know, most Purple Hearts during World War II were hand engraved, and then later on they started machine engraving them, and that's what this showed, was machine engraving. And then immediately I started looking up the person on Ancestry and online, who the medal was engraved to, and I find out that he was a Vietnam vet. Who unfortunately was killed in action in 1967. And even more interesting to that was that he was with the 5th Special Forces Group, and it's obviously the Special Forces were the best of the best in the Army, and to find anything related to them is not very common. Even more so, a medal grouping named to them. So the original group consisted of the one on the far that I'm pointing at now, which was the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry, then his National Defense Service Medal, the Purple Heart, and the Bronze Star. All of the other items that have been added to this frame, I picked up, and for the most part, are period to Vietnam. So you have the Special Forces shoulder sleeve insignia. You have his airborne wings, the combat infantry badge. Below here would be the beret flash for the 5th Special Forces Group. You have a set of Army of the Republic of Vietnam jump wings. Below that would be his rank, and he was SP4. And then you have some of his other medals. So you have the Vietnam military military merit medal, the Vietnam campaign medal, Vietnam service medal. So, and then obviously his expert rifle and auto rifle badge here. And then I kind of put together a little ribbon bar just to show all of the medals that he would have been awarded. So this was just, amazing, obviously because of where he was, what he was doing. So, so it was, when I met with the seller, I wanted to get more information. I felt kind of bad buying this because, obviously something like this should stay with the family. Unfortunately, the person who found these medals found them cleaning out the estate of the brother of the vet, and the brother was the last surviving next of kin.
Oh,
And trust me, I've searched and tried to find another family member just to see if they're aware that these medals exist and if there's any interest in reclaiming them. But unfortunately, there wasn't. And actually, the person who found them, the medals were going to get thrown in the trash, and he kind of had the like, wait a minute, maybe we should hold on to these, and he didn't have interest in them, but he felt that they should be saved, and contacted me, and like I said, I have it hanging in my home. I've shared it on my page on a collector, a couple collectors pages. And, so his story's out there, that's the good thing. We want all of, each individual story is important, and, I think it should be shared. So, but just to show you kind of what, for anybody who, I'm going to share my desktop real quick. Just bear with me. All right, so. Wait a minute. Okay.
I'm twice. I'm on there twice.
Hold on, wait a second. Just figure this out. Why aren't we? There we go. All right. All right. Oh. So this would be the. Just let me know if that's showing up or not. Of course not. Tonight is a night of technical difficulties. There we go. All right, so this would be the Purple Heart, and as you'll see, it's got the machine engraving on the reverse. Now, the interesting thing about the Purple Heart is this is actually a World War II manufactured Purple Heart, but issued during Vietnam. And the reason for that, and in a way you can tell that, is that it has what's called a slot brooch back here. And I'll kind of show you an example of what more modern brooches look like. But so the Purple Heart, we mass produced in the Purple Heart in preparation for the invasion of Japan, which never happened. Obviously, we dropped the bomb and put the squash on that. So the military, they had a surplus of these, and they continued issuing them through Vietnam. And actually, even Purple Hearts issued today are from that original stock, only they've been re-ribboned with a more modern ribbon, or ribbon and brooch. So this is his Purple Heart, officially engraved by the government and sent to his next of kin. Here's a few of the other pieces. Just let me know, am I scrolling through the photos or? Okay,
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, all right. So this would be the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry, and this was, awarded by the, South Vietnamese government. And actually, it's designed off of the French actually originally used this design of these, two prongs coming in the back, wrapping around and then coming down the other side. The French coup de grace would be the first kind of design where that was used, and then, the Vietnamese just kind of, adapted that style. And here you have the Vietnam military merit. Same design, obviously, but this is not the one that came with the group. This is one that I picked up just to, for the purpose of the display. And here's his, or this wasn't his. This was one that I picked up, but as you can see, it's kind of to the period. He was killed in action in 1967 as a result of a landmine detonation, which, talk about a way to go. But so this would have been, to the period. I made sure to, keep everything to the period of when he would have, served and when the medals would have been issued. So this would have been for, service issued by the U.S. In Vietnam. And this is the grouping as I obtained it, with the metal, or the metal cases, which are also called coffin cases. How grim, huh? Then you have the flash. That's the 5th Special Forces flash. You have your CIB, or Combat Infantryman badge. You have his, the Special Forces shoulder sleeve insignia. There you have your, expert rifle and auto rifle, and, all marked Sterling. That would be consistent with the period. His rank insignia, and then these are sandcast ARVN wings, by the South Vietnamese. And here's just some information that I, obtained from the request for his file. And as you can see, it's redacted. He was Special Forces, so some of the information they're not able to share. But you can kind of show where, what training he went through. So anybody ever, looking to find out information on a family member, their military service, excuse me, you can actually request that information free of charge from the government. If you go to the website archives.gov, you can submit a request on there. There's a form you can fill out. So, if anybody's ever interested in trying to find a military record, you can,
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
a branch of the National Archives that I think
Yes.
that does
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So you can go to
Yes.
the National Archives website and you can click your
Yeah.
way into that too. Yeah.
Yeah, archives.gov is the website, and you're going to fill out standard form 180. I've filled it out numerous times. If you are a family member, like a direct descendant, so a child or a spouse or sibling, there's actually an online form you can fill out. But if you're anything beyond that, or just a curious person, you got to fill out that form.
Yeah, and you can do that. Some of you might be interested, like for your, you know, relatives that might have been in World War II or in any wars, and you don't know what their medals are, or you don't know what medals they received. You can get that list of medals right from there too. You can take that list and you can go out and reproduce. You buy either reproduction or originals. It's up to you what you want to pay for. But there's companies that sell. You can send them the whole list and say, I want every one of these so that I can put together a little display for my grandfather or whatever to show what he had. So yeah, you can do that. It's interesting, and it's not that expensive. The reproduction ones are generally not that expensive. They're actual size reproductions, or you can get the minis and put together a set that way. If you just want to put together a small display for your relative that's you want to remember their military history, that's a good way to do it. Just get all their medals, get copies of all their medals, get the list
Yeah.
of what medals they had, and
Well,
go
you
from
can actually, the government will reissue the medals. So if the medals are lost, they will actually reissue Valor
there.
medals. So Purple Heart, Silver Star.
Sure.
Obviously you have to be a direct, again, getting
Yeah.
back to a direct descendant of the individual. But you can request for at free of charge, and they'll send them, and usually they'll be engraved too. Now the only thing is the wait time is, from what I've heard, I've never requested it, but the wait time for replacement medals is just pretty lengthy. You got to imagine they're trying to fulfill current medals, and then, I assume, veterans are kind of secondary. So, if that becomes a case, yeah, I don't want to try, I don't want to, get way too off topic, but obviously this is interesting and it might help a lot of people. If you find that they're kind of being slow, you can always go to your congressman, and they'll actually, or your state representative, and they might be able to help fast track that. That's an option. But the archive, National Archives, again, you can request their service records. The only problem is there was a fire in 1973 which destroyed a large portion of Army records. So a lot of times you'll get what collectors call the dreaded letter detailing the fire of 73, basically saying that the records are lost. So there are private researchers that you can go to, which I've done in the past and have been very successful with that. Not to advertise for anybody, but there is a company by the name of Golden Arrow Research, and they do a tremendous job of researching and filling in those gaps of military history for individuals. And then obviously you have Ancestry, great resource. There's a
Yeah.
lot of military records on there. You can find, basic information, enlistment. Sometimes you'll find, headstone cards which have details of the person's military service. There's a lot of online resources, needless to say, where you can find that information. So excuse me.
That's
So yeah, we should do a show on this researching in general. I've researched my entire family. I've been doing it for probably 8 years now, and I've spent a lot of time on Ancestry and numerous
yeah.
other sites. So maybe we can one show kind of delve into researching, just in general, even some of the items that you find. But if you're a military collector, collecting named items, those are
Yeah.
your tools right there.
And even other things like you remember, I don't know if one of the shows I showed the 1937 opening of the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, I had the guy's name. I even had his address. So I used Ancestry, and I was able to to track some of it down. And I had somebody else also help me. There was somebody, I can't remember who it was. There was somebody who watched the show that in the comments of the video put in there some information that they had found on them. But yeah, you can use Ancestry. Basically, you're starting a family tree based on that person. So you can create a new family tree and you start it, and you just do. You can see what's there, what they have there, and that would be good generally up to 1940 at this point, if you're gonna, because that's the census is kind of the most recent. The 1940 census is the most recent document that you kind of have access to. But if there's any death certificates, or or any of the grave marker sites that are
Yeah,
collecting
there's
any data.
Find a Grave is a great resource.
Yeah,
It sounds kind of dismal, but it's
but you can get
actually
an
more of
idea.
a
You,
yeah,
you
yeah,
use it to get an idea of when they passed away, and if they're still alive. Some
yeah.
when they
Well,
still be.
they have public records on Ancestry too, so you find more current records on there, and they're helpful too, because a lot of times, like white pages and things like that, they
Yeah.
will list the date of birth, even if if the person's still. It's kind of creepy when you think about it too, how much information. Just to give you an example, I do a lot of Craigslist, and you'd be amazed at how much just having an email address or a first and last name, how much information you can find on a person. And
Oh
the only
yeah.
reason why I do that is just you're kind of going in blindly sometimes, and you got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So I like to, yeah, I give my wife a list of, all right, here's where the person lives, their phone number, their email. If I
Check them
don't
out.
come back, yeah, here's where they are. Here's where I am.
There
So,
you go. That's
but
good. Yeah.
so a couple more photos. This is his Bronze Star. Again, you have your slot brooch here, so it's a World War II era Bronze Star. And now the V here, this is a little attachment on the Bronze Star. So there's two versions of the Bronze Star. You have, your one that is just for, uh, kind of a, good service. A little bit more better than like an Army Commendation Medal or Marine or Navy. But the V would signify for valor. So this was awarded posthumously because of his death, and that's why it has a V for valor on there. Next is so this is again kind of showing the research, what they're able to provide you. This is kind of a truncated version of his discharge paperwork, and it kind of gives the basics, his dates of service. Obviously February 13th, 1967 is when he was, killed in action. His final rank, his decorations and awards, which is what I use to create the display that I have. Interesting, it says place of entry, Germany, and through my research, I determined that his father was in the military, but I haven't been able to track down the father. He does have a fairly common last name, Goodman. So the theory is that he was kind of an army brat, traveled around. His father must have been an officer, and that's why the place of entry is listed as Frankfurt, Germany. But he was actually from Paterson, New Jersey, and that's where he's actually buried. He's not maybe 20 minutes from where I live right now.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I've been out to visit his
Oh,
gravesite. So, and then here's a display, just kind of a little closer up. And what I did was I kind of ordered a nice little engraved placard here, just kind of detailing, who he was, who he served with, and sadly the date that he made the ultimate sacrifice. And then here's a photo, and this I pulled off of a website called Together We Served. So this would have been, and if you look at so this is 1967 is the date of the photo, and if you look back, he was killed in 1967. So this photo was taken, and that was in February. So this photo would be, not long before he unfortunately passed away. And then actually this is Barry right here down at the bottom. The other person here, Wolfram Bischoff, he actually was killed in action on the same day as Barry. So I imagine that something must have happened. I don't know if it was the same landmine and they were walking together. And so this is Wolfram back here. So they were both killed on the same day, same reason. So I assume that it's that they were just in proximity to each other when the mine went off. And then here's the photo from his file. And every time I look at this photo, I don't know about anybody else, but I always see Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. He just looks like a badass in this photo, and he's special forces, badass dude. But for whatever reason, that's who I always see when I see that photo. And then here's just a shot of the front of the cases, and you can see this is the Vietnam case, and you can see it's kind of crude in construction compared to the U.S. issue cases. And so that's pretty much it.
Cool. I like that. I like seeing that attachment, of the person more than as well as the stuff. But I like the attachment, the story behind it, and anything you could dig up on it. So about how much time do you think you spent on just doing that with the whole research and everything you did on there?
For this particular Purple
Yeah.
Heart group, I lucked out because a lot of times I'll spend hours and hours, digging through newspaper files. I lucked out with him when I found when I saw the Purple Heart initially, the photo of it. I was immediately able to find, that he was with the Special Forces group. Somebody had created a profile, and the Vietnam War. He's on the Vietnam War Memorial. He's on the wall, so that helped a lot too. The
Oh,
archive, yeah, the National Archives, they have records for killed in action for Vietnam. Korean War and Vietnam. So that was very helpful too, because it had a lot of the details that were in his, that truncated file there that I got from the archives.
cool.
But I still wanted to send away for his record just to see what other information, and because I wanted to put a display together for him. So that was helpful, like I said, because it was able to provide the additional medals. But I would say altogether, probably 2 hours, 3 hours just
Okay.
researching them. It wasn't too bad. I've had other groupings that I've picked up, and I've spent 10, 15 hours researching them, just because sometimes information is limited, and you gotta do a lot of weird Google searches and things like that, just to try and
Yeah.
locate information. And sometimes you're going as far as researching the regiment that they were in, just to see if you can piece together their story and where they were, things
Right.
like that.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Let
Uh,
me just take a second here while we're in between things, Abby, and look and see if you guys have any questions. Although somebody was asked a question to Drew, something about, uh, why do they call it Cinnabar? You're muted, Drew.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the origin of the word cinnabar, but from what I understand, it's some kind of lacquer, and I think they get this from a beetle, if I'm not mistaken, or some of it from a crushing up of beetles. I'm not sure if they make that still, but way back in the day, I think that's what they used, or partially what they used. But this actually, it's funny because this actually is a poisonous material, and if you were people who worked with this died eventually because they inhaled it. They didn't
Oh,
use these masks and things. So the cinnabar is actually kind of toxic to humans when inhaled, I guess.
wow.
But yeah.
That reminds me of because I collect clocks, and a lot of the alarm clocks back in the 40s had the radium, the glow in the dark
mhm.
hands and the numbers. And there's actually a documentary that I saw on this about this company that hired mostly women, and all they did was paint that radium on the hands of the clock, on the numbers. That was their job all day. Well, part of the process was, and it was about the after effects, because most all of them had died of cancer or
Yeah.
had cancer really bad, and they went through the procedure. So what they would do, they would give them brushes, little tiny brushes. They'd have the clock faces in front of them. They had a little jar of the radiated, radium, right there, paint ready to go. They would lick the brush, dip it in the dip it in the get it wet. They
Mhm.
put it in their mouth, dip it in their paint, and then they wipe it off with a rag, lick it, dip it, and that was their job. 10 hours a day, and for however many years. And so yeah, eventually caught up with them, and it's amazing to me when I hear these stories about the weird things because we just didn't know. Nobody knew, or they did know, and nobody told us about
Yeah.
radiation and stuff like that. Like,
Well, look at asbestos. I mean, the same thing. I mean,
yeah,
we're using it in everything, and now it's just like, even not to get with military World War I, you had an asbestos pad in your helmet. I mean, that goes to
yeah,
show you that they just didn't know.
yeah,
But yeah, I've seen that. I've read the same thing, Dan, about the radium and the
yeah.
after effects of
And my favorite one is when they were doing nuclear testing outside of Las Vegas. Radio stations would announce, "Hey, come on out, 10 o'clock tonight. Our Air Force is doing
yeah.
a Army's doing a test," and they'd bring their lawn chairs
Bring
out.
your glasses.
They would, and the casinos would have buses, specially scheduled buses. That you get on the bus, and they take you out there, and you sit in your lawn chair and have a drink and watch the explosion, watch the fireworks. Then all the dust comes down on you, and oh my gosh, it was like, oh, it just kills me to hear
Yeah.
that, and that's our ancestors, which is why we're all screwed up now,
Yeah,
We're all,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
my
yeah. They weren't too
grandfather
bright.
and parents and all, we're all running around watching, nuclear blast shows, and it's like, thanks a lot, mom, dad,
Yeah, exactly. There's a question. Kathleen Brown asked a question. Has family ever wanted their medals and paid to get them back? I actually recently had an experience with that. I picked up a unnamed Purple Heart medal, uh, and it came with an article that linked it back to the vet. And after researching, I actually, found out that this vet was just really amazing. He was part of the Tuskegee program initially, but then wound up getting sent off to the infantry. He was obviously African American, being with the Tuskegee program, and he was wounded in action in Italy. And so I posted the whole thing on one of the military forums that I frequent. And a year later, I got contacted by a gentleman who, was interested in the medal, and he, stating that he was a friend of the son of the vet, and he'd like to, buy the medal back, to give to give back to the family. So, you have to look at it too, like, the right thing, I guess, would have been to just give it back to him, but I did have you know, some money invested into it, and obviously the family, somehow let the medal go. So it's kind of a thing like, do you just give it back? Is that the right thing to do? I really do try to find the family sometimes. In this instance, he contacted me, and we came to an agreement that he was happy with and I was happy with, and we were able to get the medal back to the family. But sometimes cash does exchange in those situations, and as collectors, we invest a lot of time and money into this. As I was saying, sometimes hours upon hours, not to mention the actual money that's spent. And I would think that if it was me personally, I have medals that belong to a family member that actually started my interest in collecting military, and the medals went missing. If I ever found them, sold them somewhere, I'd probably pay 5 times what their value is, because they're worth more than what
uh,
they might sell online, or
right,
whatever,
right,
if they're ever located. So
yeah,
I'm a collector, so maybe I have a skewed view of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. All right, well, let's see. Any more questions? I don't see anything. All right, let me do a quick like catch up. About 2 weeks ago, I missed a show, and you guys did advertising, and I know you probably did some car because Angie's out there, and I know Angie Martin. She wanted to see car stuff, so I never got to show mine. So let me just show mine really quick. I got a few here, and this is for Angie specifically because she was excited about car ads. So I got some. These are mostly all. Oh, I just moved my mouse myself here. These are all Buick ads, and there's about this is 1949. These are all actually just out of ads out of a magazine. Actually, it's what magazine is it? Uh, Farm Journal. The Farm Journal. Now, you see right there. Now that'll focus. The Farm Journal. Not even the Farm Journal, just Farm Journal. They're kind of cool. They're black and white. Better buy Buick. Let's show you guys these. We'll go through these kind of quick here. Yeah, these are all black and white. What's new? I love this in these cars. I love this big shiny. I've always had my dream car lined up for if I ever were to have a classic car or antique car, and it would be about this era, 48, 49, something with the big chrome in the front. Like this guy here, big chrome thing sticking out. So one of these days, there's another one. And this, yeah, these are all Buicks. Another Buick, 1949. This all, I believe these are all 49. This is August. Nope, that one was August. Angie's like, "Yay, getting your car fix, antique car." I got a bunch of these. I was funny. I bought this whole stack and I hadn't thought about what I was going to do. I usually mount them on poster board. I have shrink. I can do the shrink wrap process, and I've got a machine that does the sealing, and uh, I bought a huge roll of this stuff, and I usually mount them on what's it called, foam board.
Yeah.
You can buy the foam board sizes for like $1 a piece at the dollar store, and can mount them on there. And if you buy black, it can get black, and it makes a nice border around some of the white pages,
Okay.
and almost with it shrink wrapped nice and tight. I'm trying to figure out a way you can put a little hook or something on the back where you could just hang it like that. You don't really need to put it in a frame. But anyhow, I'm still playing with that idea.
What about a like
You
a
know, they make
Velcro type thing? You could
well,
do little Velcro dots, on the
they
back, and then
they
one on the
make
wall.
this thing that's like a hook, and it's on a piece of tape, and you peel the stuff
Oh
off,
yeah,
stick it on the
yeah.
back, and then
Yeah.
it's got a hook. The problem with it is, you got to get it right balance, because if you don't hook it right, then
Yeah, that's
then the
true.
picture tips. So
Yeah.
I was thinking you put two of them on there, and then you run a little wire between it, so you got some room to
Oh,
balance
there
it.
you go. Yeah, that makes
Yeah. Okay.
sense.
So
Yeah.
here you go. Now I like airplane stuff, so I got a bunch of airplane ads.
Oh, nice.
There you go, 1947 Piper Cub. But now that's interesting that like Saturday Evening Post would have airplane ads. It's like you don't see that now. You don't. Do you see like, I don't know, Newsweek with airplane ads
Nah.
selling
Yeah.
airplanes
Yeah.
anymore? I think it was this big rush in the 40s. All the guys were coming back, had just gotten back from the
Mhm.
war, and they were pilots. And the market, the demand for things like airplanes, small two-seater, four-seater planes were in demand because these guys knew how to fly. They wanted to
Yeah.
be flying. So they're making them, and they were relatively inexpensive, I guess. And uh, so these guys were jumping on it. So they were basically catering to all the servicemen coming back from the war. This is a Stetson. I collect a lot of Stetson stuff. I used to, well, I was half owner in a Tri-Pacer, Piper Tri-Pacer, but the partner when I got a phone call from some guy in town, and he says, "You know what? I'm building an extension onto my house, and I understand, you might be interested in an airplane, and I got this airplane." And I said, "Well, where is it?" He goes, "It's in my backyard." And so we go out there, and I mean, it wasn't like a farm where there's acres. It was in the city,
Wow.
and Town Vista, which is just right here. It was in the city. There was like probably about a 5,000 square foot lot or something like that, and he had in his backyard a Stetson, just like the Stetson airplane. It was a 1946 Stetson. He had the wings folded in. He had built a special device that would. He had the wings off and alongside of the fuselage. He had all the parts stuffed inside. The propeller was in there, all the panel, all the piece boxes. It was stuffed to the ceiling with all the parts. So everything for that airplane was in it. And then he had the wheels were still on it and intact, and he put a trailer hitch on the tail so he could pull it around. And then the last time he parked it there, he took it apart. He lost his hanger or whatever that he had. He took it apart, parked it in his backyard in 1963, and that was the last time it just sat there since 1963. So he ended up giving it to us. Actually, we got it for free. took it out of his
Oh
backyard
wow.
for free. Yeah.
I'm sure he's just happy to get it out of there, right?
Yeah,
It
well,
was pretty much.
the stuff we scavenged out of it. I mean, the propeller was wonderful. It was a wooden propeller.
Oh really?
It
Wow,
was
nice.
really cool. Yeah, we tried. We ended up finally selling it to some guy who was building one, and he wanted parts, and we ended up finally selling it to him.
Okay.
But we had this dream for about a year while we were sitting on it. Well, we should rebuild it. We should rebuild it. We already had one we were trying to maintain as it was and everything. So I was like, well, it actually used the Franklin engine, which was uh, a water cooled engine,
Okay.
Franklin
Yeah.
engine.
Uh-huh.
So for an airplane, that was kind of rare because most airplanes are air cooled.
Yeah.
Air cooled. This is cool.
Oh wow.
Let's call it.
Old and new, right? Cowboy, and
Yeah.
then.
Oh, some of these, and I was going to mention on some of these, I don't see one yet, but one of the cool things on some of these ads is like, okay, like there's the whole family getting ready to go for their
uh,
airplane trip. Mom's wearing a dress, dad's wearing a suit and a hat
yeah.
to go fly his airplane.
Not anymore. Can't do that now.
And there he is. There's Dad. You know, there's the man. He's got his luggage. He's dressed in his suit and hat. And my airplane, the Tri-Pacer, had a hat rack in the back. Above the back seat was a flat little place. You couldn't really put much in it, but in the manual, it was called a hat rack. It was for
Okay.
putting your hat there when you were flying. Oh, my airplane also, that airplane also had ashtrays in the armrests
There
on
you
each
go.
side
Yeah.
of it. You're sitting under
Yeah.
30 gallons of 100 octane aviation fuel that's about 3 feet from you, and you're going to be smoking a cigarette. I was like, oh
Yeah.
boy, these
Well, what's
guys.
funny, Dan, is one of the ads that I showed was for Goodyear, and it was, for Zeppelins or
Oh,
blimps,
yeah,
and it was
go ahead.
basically saying, it was post World War II, and it was basically saying, here's what's going to be the new, means of transportation. And, it's kind of what you're seeing here is that, hey,
Yeah,
look, the family can just load into
yeah,
your prop plane and
yeah,
go on a trip. And, obviously that didn't materialize. We're not doing
yeah.
that. You don't, it's just not, you
Some of
know,
the text in this it's just really interesting about fly anywhere. It can land and take off in with ease in short strips, small fields. Roomy comfort for 4 people, luggage, famed Stenson safety, utility. I mean, it's
we
like buying
can't,
a car.
humans can't even drive vehicles correctly. Imagine everybody had an airplane trying to
Driving an airplane. Well,
navigate through the
it
sky.
back then it was like okay because there wasn't that many people flying in the sky. So yeah, you can go anywhere you want to. But
Now, Dan, when you fly into a small airport and you land, where do you park your plane, and do they charge you for that?
yeah, a lot of them do. They have tie down areas, outside tie down areas. A lot of them are public visitor type tie down areas,
Hmm.
usually near one of the or a lot of the fixed base operators. If there's more than one, they sell gas and they have they have services they offer you, taxi services, whatever. But they'll sell fuel and do mechanic repair and sell you pilot supplies. But they'll usually have some tie downs. So if you have a special place you like to go and you've been there before, sometimes you can just look all of the aircraft information manuals has who's on the field, what services they offer. A lot of the airports have a public area, just airport wise, and you can go up there. When you get there, you just tell them you're looking to tie down in the public area. Now, some airports charge, especially if you're overnight. Some charge a landing fee.
And these
Oh
guys
Catalina,
wow.
charge these guys charge for aspirin
Uh,
or a pillow. I
I,
yeah,
mean,
Catalina Island charges like a $5. Well, it did when I was flying up there, $5 landing fee. And there was a guy. So he had a booth sitting right at the end of the taxiway. So when you parked your plane, you could not miss this guy, and he was there with his hand out. $5. He had a little sign.
oh wow.
$5. It was a landing fee. So no matter how long you were there, you $5.
but
So oh, here you go. This is my favorite one. This
Oh
guy.
yeah.
the
So he's
monocle.
flying his what
Looks
is it?
like
He's flying his
FDR
Cessna.
almost.
Yeah, flying his Cessna. He's a doctor. I think that's what this one was about. How, well, yeah, doctor.
Making
When
house
this
calls.
war is over, you'll be beating the stork. Yeah,
Oh boy.
in your own family car of the air.
Oh
Yeah, this was 1942. This ad.
wow.
So they're already gearing up for the guys coming home. But all right, let's see here. What time we got? Let me go through these. These are kind of cool. Coca-Cola. Who doesn't like Coca-Cola ads? Most of these are from I think they're from this is 52, yeah, 50s and 60s, and just making pals in Panama. Any questions? Smoke? Yeah.
Yeah, Smoking If You Got 'Em was the. That's from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and oh, yeah, it's a Coca-Cola one. Trying to get it to fit in here. Black and white. This is kind of a classic one. And these are all six. This is 42, 1942.
A little creepy.
Yeah, and there when you're going to Hawaii. This must have been out of a. Why is it referencing Hawaii? Jack Potter's brush. I don't know, 67. No, 57. Year of my birth. Okay, so I'm showing you this, but I just now see what's on the other 5 cent. Okay, this is, hold on, this is 1942. But check out what's on the other side. An ad
Oh,
for Lockheed with a
yeah, there you
P-38.
go.
My favorite airplane. I think I'm going to keep this and flip it and use this side. I love
Yeah.
P-38. That's my favorite airplane. Oh yeah, this other one's this way too. So we got like this, another wartime Coca-Cola ad. Flip it over,
There you
and we
go.
got we got some Lockheed advertising on the back. Another P-38. Yeah, this weekend the Collins Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of them. They own a couple of airplanes. They own like a B-17 and a B-24. I think they have a P-51 Mustang that's been converted to dual seats, a two-seater.
Oh wow. Okay.
They fly around the country, and it's like a flying museum. So
Do they
they'll
do
land.
the Reading Air Show by any chance?
Probably. I don't know
Okay.
their tour. I get their newsletter,
Yeah.
but about 10 years ago they were in Carlsbad. They're going to be in Carlsbad, California. I think this weekend, maybe last weekend, this weekend. And then they set up in it on the tarmac, and you can go and you can pay like $5. You can go walk through the B-17 and the B-24 and whatever. And it's just for them to collect. But you can go for a ride in them too. 10 years ago, I went for a ride in the B-17, which was
Wow.
909 was the name of it, and it's like $400 to go for a ride. It was a birthday present, but I wasn't going to turn it down because man, that was so cool. I think it's still only about 450 to go for a ride. It's a 1 hour process. It's a 30-minute flight when you're actually in the air, but you're in there from the startup of the engines and the whole thing, the landing, and they let you walk around the plane while you're flying, so you can go from you can see the tail gunner. You can't go to the tail gunner section, but you can. They have the side guns removed, but they have plexiglass on the big because those were open windows, just open windows. There was nothing back there. Big giant open holes in the side of the airplane. But they have plexiglass on it, so you can sit back there. When we took off, I sat on the floor in the radio room. There was this harness against the wall, and I set my butt on the floor, harnessed myself in against the wall, and that's how I sat while we took off. And then once we got in the air, we unbuckled. The coolest place was up where the bombardier sits, up in the nose in the front, and you can look back onto the engines and the propellers turning, and oh my gosh, it was cool. I have some video. It's on tape, unfortunately, and I'm trying to find it so that I can digitize it and put together a video because it was really a cool and unique experience. But anyhow, so much for my stories. I'm sitting here telling stories. Here's more Coca-Cola. Okay, um, Coca-Cola and a couple more. This is from the 60s. So now I'm going to show you something. I was going to show you this real quick before I started all this. I don't know if any of you have ever seen this. I got this about 3 weeks ago, and I've never seen one before. So sneak peek, camera down. Let's see here. Get this right. Sorry, I don't want to make you seasick. And here we are.
What's in the box?
What is the box and what is in the box? Let me get this stop moving so it'll focus better. Okay, so here's the box. Had a handle, unfortunately. I wish it still had a handle because that would really make it cool. turning it around. Any guesses from the start? And this is the, actually this is the front. It's a little banged up. I wish it wasn't in such bad shape. I haven't touched it. Normally I clean this, but I'm waiting. I'm just gonna. It does need some repair. So when I get to the point here, you're gonna see kind of what this is. So let's start the unveilings. Okay. There's the lid. Flip that open. All right. Still opening. It's got to be put together. Let me give you a hint. This date's actually 1927 is when this was produced. This particular one was made in England, but they were also made in the United States. So let me get some parts out. So take this part out and get this part, which is hard to get out because it's stuck in a hole here. Okay. Take these parts out. Take this part out. Uh-oh. Focus back. All right, so let's see if I can do this so everybody can see. Somebody guessed pinhole camera. Nope, not quite. Although, believe it or not, camera is in the name of this item. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick this right here. Next thing we're going to do is open this piece up, set it on top of here. Next thing we're going to do is attach these two pieces together, like so. Get this right. And slide it onto here. So here's what we got so far.
Oh wow! Sounds like an
Anybody
old
got any ideas?
Is it like a record player
Yep. This is a.
or phonograph, I guess.
It's
Or
called a. It's called the camera phone, which is weird that it's not a phone. But back then they didn't have telephones or they're close to telephones, so it's called a camera phone. It was made in England, 1927. And let me finish it off here.
wow, a little portable.
And so it's a portable record player.
Wow.
This is the crank. Now, here's my problem. There's a piece missing that goes on the end of here that fits onto.
A little handle or
There's a little arm inside of there, like this, and so
okay.
it won't engage. But the other side of it is that the spring is broken. I've taken it apart and looked at the spring, but I'm going to try something. I don't know if it will make any noise. I actually have not ever done this. I'm going to try to manually spin this. See if we can get some noise. It may not freely turn like I'm hoping. No, it's not turning as freely, but basically this is what happens. It winds up and it releases. Yeah, so these are these controls down here are the speed controls. There's two of them. There's one, once you get it wound up, you wind this tight, which locks it down. So one will then unlock it, and then the other one is a fine-tuning adjustment to get the speed just right so it sounds good, right? Because it'll have it run too fast or too slow. But it's basically a portable record player.
Wow.
This is Bakelite. This whole
Uh,
piece is made out of Bakelite. Very delicate. It's so thin. I mean, you can see light through it. It's so thin. So I've been very, very careful with it. Probably the most valuable thing in this whole deal is this Bakelite piece right here. If I can get it to focus better. There you go. It's pretty ornate too. So this is where the sound comes out, and the sound is basically from this fine film. See the film on there? The needle vibrates up against this really fine film. This is called a reproducer. It's the same thing that's on like a Victrola,
hmm
sharp Victrola, and it reproducer, and you can kind of hear when I kind of hear it. So it's fairly loud. It could be fairly loud actually. No electronics, no amplification. It just uses this process. Try to focus better. This uses this. So let me take this off, show you kind of how it goes. This piece is brass on the end of here. This is brass, and it just connect. See the hole just goes right through. And the vibration, the sound comes out here, and then this just kind of helps magnify it, kind of direct it, and there you go.
Where'd you find this, Dan? If you don't mind me asking.
I found it at an estate, um, not a, it was an estate warehouse.
Okay.
It was like they buy out estates and then they resell it, and I
Was it
think
just a box or was it open like that? Like, did you know what it was before?
um, it was actually I didn't know what it was. And the minute I saw this, I was like everybody else and thought it was a camera. And I went, oh, that's an interesting camera. And sometimes they'll have boxes where the camera is inside. This is a storage box for a camera. And I thought, oh, there must be a camera in there. So I opened it up, and then I'm seeing all these pieces, and they weren't in there correctly. They were actually, it was just kind of piled in there. They weren't in there in the right slots and everything. And I went, then immediately when I saw the reproducer, right away I knew this has got to be a phonograph of some kind. I go, I've never seen one of these things
Yeah.
before, and then so I'm looking around, and it actually didn't have a price tag on it, so I had to go take it and ask for price. But yeah, I am not. I mean, This is something that I could probably resell and I could do really well on, but I want to fix it first. I
Nah.
I can repair the spring because I repair the springs on. This all of a sudden didn't work
I would want to hear it personally to see what it sounds like, before
Yes.
even.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
I got to, man. I gotta get this thing. I want to see it actually working. I was hoping I could get it done for tonight, where I could wind it up and at least get some movement out of it, but it isn't going to happen. So I'm going to have some time here pretty soon. I'm going to do some work on it. I have the equipment because it's the same size of a spring and the mechanism that's in a clock. And so I have the tools to take a spring out of a clock and unwind it and replace it and repair it. So
Hmm.
I'm going to use the same thing. I think and it's actually easier to get out of here than a clock. So clock spring is. So I'm going to take it all out, and it's very simple. The mechanism inside is there's a friction wheel that helps kind of keep it from going crazy, going out of control.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much what it's all about right here. So
And look at that. I mean, it's portable, a portable device called a camera phone. It's just
yeah,
the irony
camera
in
phone
that in
made.
1927.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And now this one, until I got on the inside of it, there's no markings on it. And the only way that I know that it's made in England is that I found a couple other ones that had references and more documentation to them that it was made in England. And so it's kind of how I know that it was made. But there's no logos. Maybe there was a paper logo on it or something at one time that fell off, like a label or something. Um, but there's no. It's all wood. This box is wood. This bottom piece here is wood. This piece is steel. Someone had taken rubber bands and wrapped around here to give it some grip on the record. Evidently, it slides. The
Yeah.
record slides a lot, so they put some rubber bands. But I did see the original ones had a piece of leather, that a strip of leather that went on each one of these, and that's probably all rotted off and gone from the original. Um, and then I've taken this apart, but there's just a couple screws here to lift it out, and the whole spring movement and the gears and everything are underneath of it. And then it's cool that the handle, let's put this down here, that the handle just clips inside the. God, I'm so careful with that
Mm.
Bakelite thing. I got really the handle just stores
Oh,
inside
yeah.
the lid here as part of it, but then it all comes apart. Let's see, this one goes this way, comes up, And that stores there. And this bar goes into a hole and stores here. Take this guy apart. And that one goes there. And this actually goes here. This goes here. And you got your little portable record player ready to go for a picnic.
Nice.
Too bad it didn't have the handle. I think that's where the
Well,
logo is.
the leather just didn't hold up. All the
Yeah,
leather on there seemed that, yeah,
yeah.
probably. Yeah, there's probably some type of logo or.
There was. I think the original one I saw pictures of had the name of the company. It said actually just said camera phone is what it said.
Okay. No
Camera phone.
patent numbers anywhere on it or anything like that? I would think
No,
maybe.
even
No.
in the metal. I was looking in the metal,
Uh,
just in the metal, I didn't find anything. But it's fairly heavy because it's got a pretty good chunk of the gears and the spring and everything's all made out of steel. So it probably weighs. Here, stick it on my scale real quick. Weighs 3 pounds,
oh, nice.
four
Wow.
pounds, just about four
But
pounds.
still, I mean, that's compact, in 1920s.
Yeah,
You got a
yeah.
couple questions up there, Dan.
Okay.
Wade is asking, does it have an escapement to regulate the speed, which I assume is 78 RMP?
Yeah, it's by ear, basically. So that's what this one is. This one clamps down on the mainspring, and when it's all the way in, it basically keeps it from rolling at all. And then you open this up, and the mainspring will start turning, and then you use this, which clamps. It actually drags on a gear that's inside of there. And this one, you do your fine tuning, and you slow it down or speed it up to however speed you want it to go. So it's by ear. There's no like
Yeah.
settings. It's only for 78s. That was about all they had, and 78 records. And not only that, but I got like pile of needles.
That was the other question. Is someone said, or Kathleen Brown asked, can you still find needles for those? But it looks
Oh
like you
yeah.
don't need to. You have plenty there.
Yeah, these were all in the bottom of the box when I took it
Nice.
apart. These were all down in the bottom, so they probably threw them in there somehow to store them, and they ended up working their way underneath. There's really not a place for them, but yeah, these are actually easy to find. You can still buy these. You can buy them in their original boxes. They came in little round tins,
Hmm.
or little cardboard boxes. There's two kinds. There's a thicker one. The thicker one is louder, makes a louder sound. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that'll focus enough. And then the thinner ones are a little softer. So that's how you basically control your volume. If you didn't have a volume control, and what I mean by volume control is like a lot of Victrolas have anything that runs on a crank, one of those a crank gramophone or gramophone type, has a muffle in front of the speaker that basically is like a door that you open and close, and that was the volume control to control the volume. And I don't know if you've ever heard the term, "Hey, put a sock in it." You know, when they're telling you to shut up, they tell you, "Hey,
Okay,
put a
that
sock
was
in it." You ever
muting.
heard that?
Okay.
Well, that's where it came from. It came from the gramophone days. The gramophones had the big horn. A lot of them had the big horns, and some of them were so loud they couldn't control the volume, so they would stick socks. A sock would fit in the opening of the gramophone speaker so that it would muffle the sound, and that would quiet your. So that's where the phrase or the statement, "Hey, put a sock in it," came from to make people be quiet. Yeah, I dropped one of these on the floor. I'm probably going to end up stepping on it and finding it
That'll be
really
fun.
soon. Oh yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh good. I don't kill myself stepping on that. That would hurt. All right. Any other questions in there? My needles. Yeah, the needles. Wade said the needles do. You basically you got to have a lot of needles because they wear down really fast. They probably good for two, maybe even two or three records at the most, and they wear
Really?
down.
Wow.
And they wear down. And the problem is, I mean, that's digging into the groove of your record. So you want to keep
Yeah.
the needle fresh, or you're going to destroy your records. And so a lot of I've heard reference to people now who would use one needle per record. So they keep boxes of these things around, and the guys now will only use one brand new needle every time they play a record, so that they don't
Really?
damage the
Okay.
record, right? So and everything. So just
Sorry,
easier.
I was just saying what's it called? I had a 45 player, you know, when I was younger, and then from there, that was a short period, and then the cassette player came out, and it was all over for me.
That was it.
I'm younger, so I didn't use a record long enough to have to change out any needles or anything like that. So
I actually started with a record player, but my dad had a reel-to-reel,
oh really? Wow.
and I inherited it because he just didn't use it anymore. So I could take all my record albums and I dubbed them all onto tape, reel-to-reel tape, and on slow speed you could get like 6 hours of music on one tape. So I had like five, a bunch of albums. I pick one genre and I put them all the albums I had of that one person on one reel to reel, and
Uh,
then I could turn it on and I never have to change a record. It just go and go and go and go, as long as I wanted it to go.
nice.
And then the 8 tracks were around, so
Yeah. Well, my
eight tracks.
generation was taping off the radio. That's what I
Yeah.
can remember doing, throwing in
Oh
a
yeah.
blank cassette tape, and trying to hoping that the DJ didn't talk over the intro, and being able to get the whole song.
Because I did that too. I lived in, let me not put this on me. I lived in Mexico for many years. My parents were missionaries there, so I was growing up down there. So I didn't get a lot of good radio stations. I didn't get a lot of the music I liked. So we would come to the States to visit or to come out every now and then. And I had an 8 track deck at the time, and I would plug it in. It had a radio built in it and it had a way of recording radio. So I bought all these blank tapes and I recorded as much radio as I could. I mean, I left the commercials in. I didn't cut anything out. I just did hours and hours of recording off of American radio stations when I was up here. I'd get piles of them when I was up here. Then I'd take them all back and then I could just listen to them. Sometimes I would edit them, sometimes I wouldn't. But
Oh,
it was
nice.
like that's how I got, because they didn't
Yeah.
have satellite and cable and anything like that. So you cross the border and you get 100 miles past the border, and
Uh,
I was 800 miles south of the border, so I got nothing down there. Same time. Yeah. So that's
I've downloaded like 20 albums on my phone since we've started this whole
I
thing.
know. As I do now, it's like I don't have. I do the Amazon Music and the cloud, and you
uh,
buy an album and it's always there. I can listen to it on my computer. I can listen to it in my car, on my phone, plug my phone, whatever. It's always with me if I want to listen to it.
hmm
It's so convenient. It's like, oh, where were those days back in the 70s, whenever when I was.
Sometimes convenience is a little too much, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I don't
did
know.
get real good at I did get real good at repairing 8 track tapes, because a lot of them would get. I don't know if you know how an 8 track works, but the tape would come out of the center,
Hmm.
go through the head, right, and
Yeah.
then go back on the outside. So it was a continuous loop of tape. Well, a lot of times the tape would get pulled too tight and it would bind, or it would break. Tape would break or whatever. So I got really good at taking them apart. I knew how to lubricate them by using uh, not silicone. I guess it's not silicone. It's like powder, like lead shavings off of a pan.
Okay.
It's something that was like graphite is what I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
Graphite. You could buy graphite powder, or you just take a pencil and a piece of sandpaper, and you could put graphite in there, and it would help keep the wheels turning and everything going. You wouldn't want
Okay.
any kind of grease or anything in there, and then loosen them up. And I had a splicer, and I'd splice the tape back. And so when I
Okay.
was in college, that's what I did for people. I'd charge them like $3, and I'd
Fix
fix
their
their 8 track
eight-track.
tapes.
Nice.
Like
For
great
us, it
buddy.
was with the cassettes, it was a pencil,
Oh
and
yeah.
just trying to adjust the if it got all mangled up or whatever. I still have some of my old cassettes. I don't have any 8 tracks. Again, that was before my time. I still have some of my old cassettes.
Yeah, Catherine Brown was talking about 8 tracks in a car, and that's how I remember my first one, because I think my dad. I actually was thinking about this today, and I think it was like 1967 was the first I remember seeing an 8 track, and it was actually my dad bought one under the dash in our like '63 Chevrolet
They were
station
that
wagon.
early? I thought they were more 70s, like predominantly
No, I
70s.
remember 8 tracks in like, I know it had to have been in the 68, 67,
Really?
68. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Because I know where I was living during those years, and that's when I would. The thing was, is like my mother would buy Elvis Presley 8 tracks and listen to mainly Elvis Presley singing gospel music.
Oh, really? Oh,
And she liked
boy.
Hank
Nah.
Williams. And Hank
Okay.
Williams, and so she would have Hank Williams 8-track tapes. I don't think I owned any of them. I think I had to listen to all their music, but yeah, so it was.
I'm a Beatles fan. No Elvis here.
So yeah, yeah, that was I remember the first 8-track under the dash,
Wow.
late '60s. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is though, like like vinyl's making a comeback, but that's because music sounds good on vinyl. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound any better on 8-track or tape. So
Well, you know
I
what?
don't
And
see
it's
any of those making a comeback.
well,
In my opinion.
it actually 8-track it had the highest fidelity because the magnetic it had more a wider response because the tape was so wide, right? So you go
Okay.
to like cassette, you're only using half of that cassette tape per side, right? Each side is the same. When you flip a tape over, you're using
Yeah.
the same side. You're just using the lower half or the upper half.
Yeah.
You know how narrow the cassette was. So the bandwidth was so magnetic wise was so small that you lost a lot of course the technology and the magnet stuff in the magnetic stuff the
Yeah.
tape and all that was better. It was a higher metal and whatever, but 8 tracks were wide. Now there were 4 tracks to that, so you got a better response. It was a little wider, but there were actually 4 different bands of music on an 8
Okay.
track because it's stereo. So
Yeah.
you have 2 tracks per song basically per. So it would go through. It would hit a metal. There was a metal tab on the tape where it was spliced together, and it would hit this sensor on the head of the motor. It would hit a sensor, and it would move the head up one, and then you would go the next loop. The next loop would come around, it would move the head up another one, and it would move 4 times. There were 4 positions that the head could be in on an 8 track. So, and you could also manually push the button, move it between tracks. It was a pain finding songs though on an 8 track. So
Okay.
it was really,
Yeah.
it's not like a cassette. I mean, sometimes a cassette you can rewind forward. You could do that on an 8 track or rewind, but you had 4 different tracks. You had to remember which track it was on. And a lot of times the back of a 8 track tape will tell you track 1 has these 4 songs, track 2 has these 4 songs.
Okay.
So
All
you
right.
would know kind of how to narrow it down to get to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I
Can you
needed.
guys can you guys tell me how to screen share? Are you looking at my screen share?
Yep, I
Yeah, but
see. Yep, now we
uh,
don't.
Do you
But
see
you gotta.
anything?
Yeah, I see your whole desktop. But you got to pick the tab that you want to share.
Okay, that's the tab I want. Share
Yeah,
now.
there
What?
we go.
oh, now you took it away.
You see it?
You have to
No,
say
we got it
yeah.
now.
Oh, you got it. Oh, right. There you go.
Look at
Now we got
this.
it.
This is a 45 player inside somebody's car.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Ever see with that?
Yeah, I've seen one of those actually.
Can you see? Can you see my photo?
Yeah.
Cool. I had never seen one of these, and I posted on a Facebook page, and everyone went nuts because I never saw this before.
I have
Well,
never
I
seen
guess it would be
one
similar
working.
to like a like a record player and an old record machine. It's probably the same
Uh-huh.
setup, right? I would imagine something similar to that.
Look at this older lady. You see her? She's popping them in there.
I saw
Uh,
one. I was at a swap meet, an auto swap meet in February, and I saw one there. I knew what they were. I've seen them around before. The guy was selling it. It was immaculate, and it fit under it was an RCA 45 album, and he said it was all working condition. He wanted $600 for it.
wow.
So the only thing with them is that they had this. Supposedly they wouldn't skip, but they would. So you're driving down the road and you hit a big bump, it's gonna skip. But the way it was made, they tried to keep it as tightly compressed as possible to the needle so it wouldn't bounce around so much. But
Mm.
Look at this
yeah,
ad for Chrysler Corporation. Highway Hi-Fi Phonograph provides the music you want wherever you go. Look at that baby.
very cool.
Trip, huh?
Well, we're about at the end of our time, and I have to get running here too. So thanks guys who hung in there with us, and I hope you guys enjoyed our show and all of our goodies. And again, if you guys have something you want to share and you want to be on the show, you're more than welcome to give Erik, any of us, a heads up and find us, message us on Facebook or through our individual pages or whatever. We'd love to see what you guys have. And a lot of you guys
Mm.
are regulars here. We're trying to get Angie Martin in here. I'm sure she's got a collection of something. We got Kathleen who's here all the time. Wade's got, I'm sure, got some stuff. um, so yeah, you guys are the diehards that hang in there with us all the time. So I'm hoping to get some of you guys in here with us sometime. So and next week we'll have the whole crew here. I hope Erik got really busy and Sean is not feeling well tonight. So stay healthy, guys. Especially you guys who are with me, Erik and Drew. Stay healthy.
Right back at you.
And so we'll I don't know. A lot of the shows canceled the other shows canceled this week, and I don't know. I'd imagine that the Toadcast is still going to go on tomorrow night, and a lot of the shows canceled this month. And I don't know if there's like they're on like summer leave or they're just busy too. Everybody's trying to keep up with their businesses and get things going and kind of keep rolling. So it's probably what they're working on. So hey, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for joining us, and hope that uh, see you again next week. And come send your friends back to our channel here. If, post a link back to this so we can get some views and get people interested, and we can keep doing this. We love doing it, whether people are watching or not. Actually, I know that's what Erik's opinion is. So we're here just to share the stuff we got and keep things going. So all right, I guess for now, see you guys next Thursday.
Thanks,
Hey,
everyone.
keep on picking.